Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Healing with Chinisani, and I am Chinisani. It's good to have you back, and it's exciting this journey that we are taking together. And I honestly hope and pray that it's been educational, it's been helpful in whatever journey it is that you're partaking, that you find yourself in. And above all, I hope it's been healing, which is the fundamental thing where this channel is concerned. Well, for those who are new, thank you for tuning in. I guess it might be because of the topic we are delving onto today, which is my PCOS diagnosis. Yes, it's a bit of a painful reality, a bit of a painful thing to talk about, but this is a healing channel. We are here to heal together and to, undergo whatever challenges that life throws at us together, navigate those together. And on this particular installment, I'm just going to share my journey with you. When it is that I got my diagnosis, what lifestyle changes I implemented, what I've learned since, and what I've come across, and hopefully I can answer some of your questions, and we can have a productive dialogue about this, and we can help each other through it as well. So I'll give a bit of a backstory as to how I ended up in the first place going to a doctor's office to be tested for this particular syndrome. When I was growing up, majority of the time, really, I grew up with, I have two brothers. So I was surrounded with predominantly men. And I'm not sure if that was what led to my being a tomboy. But yeah, I grew up a tomboy, and my older brother would buy me clothes like Timberlands and baggy pants. And I loved it. Honestly, I didn't see anything wrong with it. I loved it. I loved having matching clothes with my brothers. And it's one of those things that brought us close together. So I just assumed that as my identity, that I was tomboyish and I walked like this. I wore my cap like that and wore all those baggy clothes and the clunky shoes like your Timberlands, sneakers. I loved it. It was comfortable. And then when I was 18 or 17 actually, I started growing hair on my chin. The very first strand of hair that I grew, that developed. And I remember thinking at the time, yeah, this is that's okay. I am tomboyish. Maybe tomboys do after all get hair on their chins. I didn't see it as something that would I didn't see any negative connotation to it, honestly. I was fine with it. I was more than comfortable with it. And I remember a really close friend of mine even suggesting, you know what, you can get that thing removed, you can get laser treatment and, have it removed. I was like, no way. I liked it. And I think it fit it fit very well into my identity at the time. And I left it at that, and over a couple of years, it started developing. Like I started getting a lot more hair on my chin. I didn't think much about it, honestly. I did not interrogate it. But over the years, particularly when I started um, accepting and accommodating the feminine side in me, it started getting a bit uncomfortable. Particularly when I had boyfriends, and I would think, this might bother them, and this might be because I'd look at girls around me. Most of the girls around me were girly, and even the way they dressed, they didn't have the hair. And I started feeling out of place and started feeling out of sorts really about it, and wanted something done pertaining to the hair. I remember there was a girl I shared a house with. She when I was in uni, and she had similar developments, and she would plug it out with tweezers, if I'm not mistaken. And she mentioned how painful it was, and that I could do the same, and it was working for her. Or I had heard from other people that the worst thing you can do is shave it or remove it. So I stuck to my guns and decided, you know what, I am never going to touch it. I'm never going to remove it. I'm just going to leave it as is. And that way I won't have to deal with multiple of the hair growing to a point where it develops into a beard. Like that would have been something else. But over the years, it just kept growing, and I didn't do anything about it. And it actually got to a point where initially it was just a long strand of hair, but it got curly. And fast track, when I was probably in my mid-20s now, so this is nearly a decade later, it had gotten pretty bad. And I was also getting worried about it, and just the rate at which it was developing. I didn't think it was normal. So I went and saw a doctor. This was in 2019, actually. And I remember seeing them and telling them that I wanted some tests done. I'd done some research and found out that you had to tick 3 boxes for you to be diagnosed with PCOS, which is Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. I will not get into the nitty gritties of it, like scientifically speaking. I've listened to a lot of people on YouTube, try to educate myself on that. There's Dr. Mindy, who speaks much about it, who also wrote the fasting girl book that has pretty much trended. She speaks about intermittent fasting, which is not something I am saying you should do, or that I'm saying heals this, because there is no magic pill that takes this away, or it doesn't rather have a cure. It's something that you manage. But yeah, in 2019, I went and saw a doctor and asked them if they could have a test done. And this test would basically be an ultrasound where they could see the cysts. I already had the hair, so something else had to be confirmed for them to actually confirm that I had the syndrome. So this was towards the end of 2019. That was around the time when we were hit with the COVID pandemic. So that didn't happen because that was just, an elective, not even a procedure, but some of those kind of consultations were not given priority, and I totally understood. So I didn't have it done in 2019. I ended up having it done in 2023, February 2023. And I had it done in Australia, which is where I'm currently based. And in doing it here, it was primarily because my periods were regular, but the flow was very low. And sometimes it could literally be just a day. So I was thinking to myself, I don't think that's normal, or that's commensurate with what a normal period should be. So I went and saw a doctor. It wasn't a specialist, she was just a general practitioner. And she recommended that I have the ultrasound done. And I remember going into her office now to get the results. I was with my husband. And it didn't take long for her to break the news to me, and she basically said, I do have polycystic ovarian syndrome. And she showed me the scans. And the funny part about getting the results was that I knew, like, all along when I was being persistent and trying to have whatever test done, I knew that I had it primarily because of how I felt, and primarily because obviously of the hair. It was out of norm that I had such a development. And I was also starting to realize that I had a problem losing weight despite my lifestyle. My lifestyle is such that I try by all means to eat as healthy as I can, and drink plenty of water and exercise. I exercise at least 5 times out of 5 days out of 7 days of the week. So such things started worrying me, the weight gain. And she confirmed it. I remember the first thing I asked was, no, rather, she emphasized that there is no cure. And the part that hurt me the most was when she mentioned that having been diagnosed with it means I might have fertility issues, which is something I'd come across obviously in doing my research and trying to find out and educate myself more on it. But it's just the way she said it, and when it's said by someone else, it's as though it's somewhat a confirmation. And I remember in my head thinking, that is not my portion. I understand that might be the general diagnosis, but not me. I am not going to have fertility issues. I am not going to have a problem with that. And I remember muttering a prayer under my breath and saying, not me, Jesus, not me. And I remember also saying, which is one of my favorite verses in the Bible, that says, by his stripes we are healed. And I muttered that under my breath and said, by your stripes I am healed. But that is how I got the diagnosis. And obviously, I'm not saying it was all fun and games in getting the diagnosis. It hit home, and the doctor then emphasized issues around lifestyle changes. So eating healthy, plenty vegetables, plenty fruits, and avoiding junk, and exercising as much as I can, but also not overexerting to a point where it increases the cortisol levels in my body. But I remember thinking, but I'm already doing all that. What more can I do? Like, how much less can I eat? How much more of vegetable portions can I have? But yeah, we went home. We went back home, and I did start removing, like consciously removing some things from my diet, such as, I would have an occasional drink, a soda here and there, sweet drinks. So I started consciously removing those from my diet. I started doing a lot more research and trying to find out ways in which I could curb it or manage it. And that's what I wanted to share. I'm not sure what your journey is. I'm not sure if you tuned on here, you probably have those symptoms, be it missed periods, no periods at all. You have hair growing on your chin or on your chest or wherever else. You might be losing hair. So, because those are some of the symptoms. And you might need to go in to see a doctor in order for them to actually diagnose you and to tell you whether or not you have it, and get proper guidance from them as to how you can manage it. But the way I started managing it was, I started being conscious of what I ate. In as much as I was doing so already, there was room for improvement. We occasionally would have Friday dinners where we would eat junk. So I started being conscious around that, to say, okay, fine, if we're having burgers instead of fries, I could go for a salad. So I started implementing those, and to be honest, it made me feel a lot better. I started being conscious about moving around. With instances where I had to work from home, after lunch, I would take a conscious decision to go for a walk. After dinner, I'll take a conscious decision to go for a walk. It doesn't have to be an hour-long walk. Just movement, and still a movement, and as much as I can during my day, I tried doing that. And at some point, I started feeling uncomfortable having the hair as well, and I decided to, do laser treatment on that. And as you can see, I don't have it right now. It does come back from time to time, and I still go back and have a laser treatment done on my chin. And it's something, it took me a very long time to decide whether or not I wanted to do something of the sort, because I'm not necessarily against cosmetic, or is it cosmetics and aesthetic procedures and all that. I've been against them for a very long time. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, fine, there is this solution and I don't feel comfortable with that. Why not do it? I did research about it, and I spoke to my doctor about it as to whether if I were to do laser treatment, if that would be harmful in any way, shape, or form. Of course, that side benefits to everything. It's a bit of an expensive endeavor, but the doctor said it was fine for me to do that. They had actually recommended that that was one of the ways in which I could have the hair removed. So yeah, I went for a couple of sessions where laser treatment was concerned. It's painful. I mean, it's it's similar to, I've done waxing before on my armpits. It's similar, that like the discomfort is somewhat similar. But after a couple of sessions, I think after 5 or 6 sessions, the growth didn't come back for a while. I actually think the last time I did it would have been 3 or so months ago, and I haven't seen much development. There are just a bit of strength here and there, and I won't go back until it's protruding and it gets to a point where it bothers me. But for now, I won't, because I also don't want to overdo it and to expose my skin to that. So that's what I did in terms of dealing with the hair, and in terms of changing diet and moving more. I started realizing that it helped my system be regular. It helped my mood as well, because just going out and taking a walk, it lifts my spirits. And it's something that I think we probably underestimate, but let me tell you, it worked wonders for me. Just getting outside and taking a walk, listening to a podcast, sometimes not, sometimes talking to my mom. It forced me to be more mobile, to expose myself to a healthier environment, to the sun, and it did go a long way. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I don't know anyone, even up to now, I don't know anyone who's been diagnosed with this. I've not had anyone to share it with, to share my story with, enough to compare notes or say, yeah, I'm having the same problem, or this is what I did here and there. And that is the whole purpose of this channel, to be honest with you. It's just to be here for you in instances where I've gone through something, to be here for you, to be here with you and say, hey, I've gone through this and this is how I navigated it. And perhaps my story can help you in whatever way, shape, or form, be it you directly or a family member, a friend, or someone you might see struggling with something similar to that. And that's why I feel so strongly that I should share my story. Is it comfortable sharing it? Yes, it's actually I'm actually comfortable sharing such, because I know the end goal, and the end goal is to reach another person and help them, and have a conversation with you if you are open to sharing your story, or answer whatever questions it is that you might have. And I found it was very difficult for me, first of all, to accept that I could have that, knowing that there was no one around me who had ever gotten that diagnosis. Let alone, it's so funny how even in my head developing, like it was very evident to people around me, but no one ever asked. I'm not sure if it's a matter of people are uncomfortable having the uncomfortable topics, so we just sweep it under the rug. And I would observe how when people talk to me, instead of looking at me in my eyes, they would look at my chin, and I knew what they were looking at. Did it make me uncomfortable? Yes, it did. To a certain extent, it had me thinking that it now seems as though now that is my identity. I'm the girl who has hair on her chin. And no one wants to be identified that way. I mean, seriously. So that on its own has me thinking we need to be having such conversations. We need a platform. We need to hold each other's hands where such things are concerned, and be comfortable with uncomfortable conversations, man, and just open up the platform, open up our hands to one another, and walk together on these uncomfortable journeys. And I find that when we conceal it and pretend that it's not happening, or that we are not going through it, that's when it gets worse. Because whether we like it or not, we are going through some of these things. We face them each time, particularly when you are now by yourself, or particularly when a person is stirring and you're just there wondering, are they even going to think I am normal? Are they going to judge me because of this? Are they going to like me because of this? Are they going to be my friend simply because I have hair? Are they now going to start talking about me behind my back and talking about how I have hair? And they might. But you know what the most important thing is? It's your own comfort. It's how you deal with it and coming to terms with it and doing the best you can to manage it and live through it. And there is one of the YouTube channels that I watched, and the lady, the way she described people who have PCOS is that, well, from what I gathered, she basically says we are superheroes, because for you to have PCOS, you need to have tons and tons and tons of eggs relative to the normal woman, and that's why you end up having so many of them released that they end up forming the cysts. And I would remember thinking to myself, okay, that's the outlook I'm going to take. I am a superhero. I have so many eggs that my body doesn't know what to do with. And that's a positive outlook. And of course, there are negative side effects and negative, the aftermath of having such as infertility issues, where some women then struggle to have kids. And like I said, I am believing and trusting that by his stripes I am healed, and that I will have the kids that God has intended for me to have. I truly believe that. Particularly, I take it as a blessing that I got to know that I have the syndrome, and now I can manage it. There is such power in knowing and in having that knowledge prior, that you can then do something about. Don't take for granted. Our bodies are very good at communicating when something is wrong. They're very good at signaling and, nudging us and saying, hey, this hair, look into that. When, as a woman, you are not getting your period, it's not something to celebrate because, well, I'm not getting my period. I don't have to buy pads and all that. What is happening internally when you're not getting your period? Where are those eggs going? We need to interrogate all those things, because from what I've heard, and don't quote me on this, it's just from the research I've done, when you are not getting your period, you could get cancer, a form of cancer. I'm not sure if it's to do with endometriosis. You could get such, which is not good for you. So have it checked out, guys. Whatever it is your body signals, have it checked out. Have a professional look at it. Have a conversation with someone about it. It's very important that we know what is going on enough for us to deal with it. And it's only after knowing that we will then take the measures and put the measures in place to work on it. So do the best you can in that regard. And as always, I'm here for you. I am here to answer your questions, particularly where my experience is concerned. I'm here to lend an ear, a shoulder to cry on, and just be here with you and journey with you through healing in whatever way, shape, or form. Sometimes I think, thank you, Lord, for having given me this, because it's in having it that I'm able to reach out to another girl and say, hey, me too, and say, I know what you're going through. I can help you through it. I'm going through it as well. It's painful. Hold my hand and let's do this together. And with that said, that's me today. That's me with my Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome story. Hopefully we can have more conversations around this. Hopefully we can, just educate each other on it and raise awareness within our communities where such topics are concerned. I will share whatever links and videos that I've found instrumental for my journey that have really been helpful in my getting from one state to the next, which is where I am now, where I feel healthy, where I feel empowered, and where I feel in control of my body enough to say, I am well. Even with that diagnosis, I am well. And I am empowered enough to have a conversation with the next girl. I am empowered enough to know I can have a normal life, really. And I don't have to have the fear of, oh, but what if I don't have children? I will have those children by God's grace. And you know what? All is well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you're well wherever you are. I hope you are healing, and I hope you're being kind to yourself and taking it one step at a time. There's so much that comes at us at the same time, and we just need to be kind to ourselves. Get a little bit of sunshine, get a little bit of, some love in your system in whatever way, shape, or form, be it a hug from a loved one, or be it, just you're pampering yourselves. Those things are really important. Let's not underestimate them. And I'm glad for your time. I'm glad that you find whatever minutes it is you can in your schedule to listen to me and me share my story, and hopefully that invokes that in you as well to share whatever it is you might want to share with me. Thank you guys. This is Healing with Chinesani, and I'm Chinesani, and I hope you're well and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. Thank you.